There is an SUV sitting on dealer lots right now with a sticker over $100,000, and the independent shops around here have a nickname for it. They call it an annuity. That is not a compliment. They call it that because the same owner keeps coming back, writing a check every visit, until the day they finally give up and dump it for pennies. I have watched it happen. One of the vehicles on this list needs the entire engine pulled out of it just to fix a timing chain. That is a $15,000 bill on a rig that will be worth less than the repair inside a year. $15,000 to fix a chain. I have bought running pickup trucks for a quarter of that. I have got hand tools in my toolbox older than the motor that grenades on some of these things at 20,000 miles. I know a fellow who runs a shop who now does a mold inspection as part of a regular service on one of them because the water gets inside that reliably. Let that sit. A mold inspection on a car. I am going to walk you through 8 vehicles that mechanics are genuinely begging folks not to buy, ranked from concerning down to flat-out catastrophic. Every repair number I give you comes from real American shop pricing, federal recall records over at the highway safety folks, class action settlements, and the owner complaint data on sites like RepairPal and Edmunds. Not guesses. Stick around for number 1, because it is that 6-figure SUV, and half the time it will not make it back out of the driveway before the whole dashboard lights up like a Christmas tree. I am Frank. I am 71. I spent 34 years building trucks on the line at GM in Flint, worked my way up to Master Tech, and I have had most of these vehicles apart on the lift with my own hands. No badge loyalty here. Nobody pays me a dime. Not every one of these is a death sentence, and a well-kept example can surprise you. But the pattern is the pattern, and the trade sees it every week. Let's start at number 8 and work our way down to the wallet killer. Number 8. The Nissan Rogue. Look, the Rogue sells like crazy, and there is a reason. It is roomy, it rides nice, the price is friendly, and for the first few years a lot of them are just fine. Here is what the salesman will not bring up. The transmission? Nissan put a CVT in these, a continuously variable transmission, and on the 2014 through 2018, Rogues that unit overheats and wears itself out. You get shuddering, a lag when you step on the gas, and the scary one, a dead spot right when you are pulling out into traffic. Then it quits entirely, usually somewhere between 80 and 120,000 miles. A new transmission runs you $3,000 to $5,000. Call it $4,000 at most shops. On a Rogue that might be worth $8 or $9 grand, that one repair is the whole ballgame. And this is not me guessing. Nissan paid out a class action settlement north of $270 million over these transmissions, and they quietly stretched the warranty on those model years out to 84,000 miles. A company does not do that out of the goodness of its heart. They do it because they already know. My take. If you are shopping a used Rogue, you are buying somebody else's transmission problem. Number 7. The Volkswagen Tiguan. On paper, this one is tempting. It feels German, it feels solid, the interior is a real cut above the crowd. And then you find out how the 2-liter turbo engine was put together. The early Tiguans, roughly 2009 through 2017, use a timing chain with a little plastic tensioner that keeps it tight. That tensioner wears out. When it lets go, the chain jumps, and on this engine, the valves and the pistons try to occupy the same space at the wrong moment. That is a destroyed engine. Not a repair, a replacement. Caught early, a chain and tensioner job is $1,200 to $2,500. Miss it, and you are looking at $4,000 to $8,000 for a rebuilt or replacement engine on a compact SUV that is barely worth that much used. Volkswagen knew. They redesigned that tensioner for the 2012 model year, which tells you exactly what the earlier ones were. Here is what the brochure left out. On top of the chain, these things cake up with carbon on the intake valves and go through plastic water pumps like a truck goes through wiper blades. My take. A solid-feeling German badge does not mean a solid engine underneath it. Number 6. The Fiat 500X. This is the orphan trap, and it is the one that sneaks up on folks. It looks like fun Italian styling, a friendly price on the used lot. The problem is not one big dramatic failure. The problem is that you have bought into a brand that has all but packed up and left the country. The Fiat dealer network in America is a ghost town now. When something breaks, and it will, you are waiting weeks for parts, And underneath that cute little body is the same troublesome ZF 9-speed transmission the Jeeps use, bolted to a 2.4 engine that likes to drink oil. But here is the real gut punch. Depreciation. A 500X sheds more than half of its value in 3 years. More than half. So you are stacking hard-to-find parts, a shaky transmission, and a vehicle that is worth almost nothing the day you go to sell it. My take: when a brand walks out the back door, do not be the one left holding the keys. Number 5. The Chevy Equinox. And folks, this one stings for me to say because I gave GM 34 years of my life on that line. But I am not here to sell you a bow tie. I am here to tell you the truth. The 2010 through 2017 Equinox with the 2.4 engine has a defect in the oil rings. It burns oil, not a little bit. A quart every 1 to 2,000 miles, and no warning light until the damage is done. Low oil then starves the timing chain, and once that chain is worn, you are into the guts of the engine. A timing chain repair on these runs $3,000 to $4,000. If the motor is gone, a dealer will quote you north of $9,000, and I have seen the bills hit $11,000 on an Equinox. There are class action lawsuits covering those exact model years for this exact problem. Here is what they do not want you to know. Check the oil on a used one yourself, every tank, for a couple of weeks, before you ever sign a thing. My take: I love the General, but I would walk right on past one of these. Number 4. The Jeep Cherokee. The 2014 and 2015 models especially. Now a Jeep tugs at something in a lot of us. The badge means freedom, means go anywhere, means Sunday on a back road, and Jeep leaned on that feeling hard while they sold you a transmission that was not ready. This is the ZF 9-speed again, and in the Cherokee it is at its absolute worst. Violent whip-your-neck shifts, lurching, and a sensor fault that could throw the whole thing into neutral or shut it down while you are driving down the road. The 2014 Cherokee alone drew around 4,000 transmission complaints. Around 4,000 on one model year. It got so bad that roughly 500,000 of these transmissions ended up recalled, and Jeep was out there authorizing full transmission replacements on the early builds. Add in that same 2.4 engine burning oil, and you have got a rig fighting you at both ends. My take: I want to love a Jeep, but I would not put my grandkids in an early Cherokee and trust it to behave itself in traffic. Quick favor before we get into the top 3, because this is where the real money gets set on fire. If this is keeping one of your people out of a 5-figure mistake, do me a favor and tap that like button. It tells the algorithm to push this in front of more folks before they sign the wrong contract. All right, on we go. Number 3, the Ford Explorer, and I mean the 2020 model year specifically. The one they completely redesigned from the ground up. Ford switched these over to a rear drive layout with a 10-speed transmission, and the launch was a genuine disaster. Owners reported the thing banging into gear, slipping out of gear, and losing power with no warning at all. But the one that stops me cold is the drive shaft. On some of these it could fracture right at the weld seam, and you lose drive. Or worse, the thing rolls away when you thought you had it parked. About a third of every complaint filed on the 2020 Explorer is about the transmission or the driveline. A third. Ford issued 5 separate recalls on that one model year chasing these gremlins, including one just for the cracking drive shafts. Here is what the salesman skips right over. A botched first year on a fresh redesign is the worst used truck you can buy because you are the crash test dummy for their mistakes. My take: if you want an Explorer, you do not want that one. Number 2, the Range Rover Evoque. Now we are into the luxury end of the lot, and this is where paying more money buys you more problems, not fewer. The Evoque looks like $1 million, and it will nickel and dime you straight into the ground. The electrical system is the real headache. Door locks that quit, parking sensors that go dark, an infotainment screen that reboots itself for no reason, warning lights for things that are not even wrong, and then the water gets in. These leak at the seals and around the windshield, and the water soaks the headliner and runs right down into the carpet and the steering column, where it shorts out that already cranky wiring. Behind all of that sits the Ingenium engine, which has a reputation for a timing chain that rattles on a cold start and stretches over time. Land Rover does not hand out recalls for that, so guess who pays for it? You do, and a Land Rover engine job runs anywhere from $7,500 to $15,000. Repair Pal ranks the Evoque near the bottom of its luxury class for reliability, and the value falls off a cliff, better than half of it gone in 5 years. My take: that is an awful lot of prestige to pay for a truck that is scared of a rainstorm. And number one, the one I told you about at the very top, the Range Rover Velar. This is that six-figure SUV, and it is the most expensive mistake on this list. It does not have one problem. It has every one of them, stacked on top of each other, and it costs you a fortune every time. Start with the engine. It is that same Ingenium unit, but on the Velar the timing chain sits at the back of the motor, jammed up against the transmission, so getting to it means pulling the entire gearbox out first. What would be a straightforward chain job on my old Chevy turns into a 4-figure teardown before anybody has even touched the chain. And if that chain has already jumped, you are not fixing a thing. You are buying a whole new engine, $7,500 to $15,000, on a vehicle that is bleeding value faster than you can drive it home. Then the transmission, that same ZF9 speed, hunting for gears and failing early, thousands to replace. Then the electronics, which one shop owner described to me as biblical. An infotainment screen by itself can run $3,500. Door handles that stop working in the cold and lock you out, or lock you in. And then the water. On a Velar, it is not a maybe. The roof drains clog, the seals fail, the thing takes on water at the car wash, and that water kills the electronics for 5-figure repair bills. I have heard of 3-month-old examples with mold already growing inside the cabin. Now here comes the knockout: depreciation. A Velar loses close to 60% of its value in 5 years, some of the worst of any luxury SUV ever built. So picture the whole thing. You pay over $100,000. 3 years later, it is worth maybe $40,000. And it still needs an engine. My take: this is not a luxury vehicle. It is a repair bill with a nice grille on the front, and the trade would run it right off the lot if they could. So there they are. 8 vehicles the trade is quietly begging you to skip. The Nissan Rogue and its self-destructing transmission. The Volkswagen Tiguan and that timing chain that eats the engine alive. The Fiat 500X, the orphan that cannot get parts and cannot hold a nickel of its value. The Chevy Equinox drinking oil until the motor dies, and yes, it pains me to hang a bow tie on this list. The Jeep Cherokee fighting you in traffic, the 2020 Ford Explorer, the redesign they shipped before it was finished, and the 2 Range Rovers, the Evoque and the Velar, where 6 figures buys you a mold inspection and a cliff you drive your money right off of. Here is the whole thing in one sentence. The dealer gets paid the second you drive off the lot. The mechanic sees the truth 6 months later, and by then it is your money on the line, not theirs. None of this makes you a sucker for wanting something nice to drive. It just means you deserve to know what the shop already knows before you sign, instead of after. And if you want the opposite of this list, the shops around here keep pointing at the same handful of names. A Toyota RAV4 or a Tacoma. A Honda CR-V or a Ridgeline, a Mazda CX-5, a Subaru Outback. Boring? Maybe. Still running strong at 200,000 miles on the original engine? Just about every time. That is the trade telling on itself. So, let me ask you, and I do read these, which one of these have you owned, and did it drain your wallet, or did you get lucky? And which vehicle would you never in 100 years let a friend buy? Put it down in the comments. The painful stories especially, the I wish somebody had warned me ones. And if you want the whole playbook on buying smart, dodging these exact traps, and knowing which models to chase and which ones to run from, car, truck, whatever it is you drive, I put together a book called The Right Ride. It covers the buying traps, the maintenance that actually matters, and the specific vehicles to look hard at and the ones to skip. I am not going to hard sell you on it. There is a link in the description if you want to take a look. Either way, do me a favor and hit like and subscribe. It helps this old man more than you know. Drive safe out there, folks. And when you are not sure, buy the boring one. This is Frank.